and that channel, that water would flow, and hopefully it would flow out on the farmland even before it crosses King Ranch Road. Now, King Ranch Road does need to indeed be addressed, because that way, if the channel goes under the bridge on King Ranch Road across that farmland, it can go all the way over to the Big Black. And then what that will do, that will keep the water from backflowing there at MLK and creating all of the flooding repetitively that we normally usually get. I just think that it's just a matter of collectively us re-talking to the owners, trying to get them to realize and recognize the detriment that this backflooding and flooding is causing to the city.
Let me cut you off before we go too far, before I
Yes.
forget my next question.
Yes, sir.
Last time I think you was here, we spoke of getting King Ranch Road to the city limits, getting the right of way to clean that ditch out there. Is there where you saying you having problem?
Yes, sir.
Getting the right of way, and you talking about engineer, or you talking about Tim, our county engineer?
Yes.
That you talking to?
Yes.
All right, Tim, can you come up to the stand? I want to find out what problem we got going on here.
Okay.
With right of way.
The part of King Ranch that or the part of Bachelor Creek that we have looked at is from King Ranch to I-55. That side of it. And
you jumped aside. It was from King Ranch back to the city limits. You hadn't looked at none of that?
from King Ranch back to the city limits. Let me see. No, we looked at the other side. And we have had extreme difficulty with all of those property owners letting us on their property. They have concerns about several different things, NRCS, designs, maintenance, erosion control, and they basically said they don't want any part of this project.
All right. Well, there's something that you need to work with our lawyer on is eminent domain on the right of way. And don't forget the part of King Ranch to city limits. Some way or other, I believe that was our main spot, was King Ranch to the city limits. Look at your notes from the last couple of times we talked.
Yeah, I'll get integrated right away started on it now. And
definitely go back to these property owners, but I feel free and feel the feeling that you need to start the process in the domain if they don't want to allow us to go in there and work on that ditch.
And why don't you see if we can get a list of the property owners you're talking about? Maybe one of the supervisors could talk to the property owner and see and find out and get past what their concerns might be, maybe guarantee that we won't be disturbing their land in some kind of way. We can figure it out. So give us a list of the property owners.
Okay, I can have that to you this afternoon.
Okay.
Why don't we bring it to the next board meeting so we can bring it here?
Okay.
So we can see it.
Well,
and we can let it.
I've got it right here. If you
do it now,
I've got a copy of it right here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'll email it to you this afternoon and I'll bring it back. Can I answer one thing while I'm up here? You mentioned about the signal at 22 and King Ranch Road. Yes. We are in the process of designing, in the final process of designing, and hope to have that signal installed in the latter part of 2021.
Yeah, my main reason for being here is I know that you all streamline everything, and those people who are questioning that, they can see that it's being inquired about, because what they think about politicians, we just tell them something to make them feel good, and that's not the case. So I've been here 2 or 3 times on last year, and I just want to reinforce and send that direct message to the residents in that area that the Board of Supervisors have you on their mind, and I think what's broken will be fixed in the future. So
right, that one is soon to be coming.
I do want to add this: the Rogers Park is in that area, and I know it's in the county, but I know know it's pretty tough. I saw a senior citizen trip and fall just on a crack in the track. So the upkeep on it, and I think the gentleman, Mr. Babbitt, does a great job, no doubt. But there are some things that are needed and need to be tended to on a regular basis. And even when you look at the equipment in that park, that equipment is antiquated. It's not up to date when you go to other parks and when you're in other areas of the state of Mississippi. And those types of things need to be looked at on a regular basis because our communities are aging and we need to fix these problems now so when people of my status get to that age of seniority, these problems will still be there and they'll be worse. So again, I hope that you all will look at this and bring some attention to it. Another thing I want to share that is with the Madison County Sheriff's Department. We appreciate what they do out there. They're always on patrol. Early in the morning, I get out there about 5:45. There's always a sheriff out there. So I myself, on behalf of Ward 5 and the city of Canton, I just want to say thank you for what you're doing, and I hope it stays in that area and we continue to keep it up. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. And I just want to say that the last thing is that in relationship to what Supervisor Paul Griffin mentioned, it is critically important that we know who the landowners are, as he said, from King Ranch Road to the city limits. That's a very important key because I think we can make some improvement as to channeling and hopefully redirecting that water to the flatland, and that would help us tremendously. Thank you guys so very much. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. I hope all your questions, well, some of your questions have been answered. We didn't mention that the Madison County has started a watershed study, which includes Canton, and we're looking at all the water problems countywide and looking and see where the water's coming from, where it's trying to go. Okay. And that study is going to take a couple of years, but they're starting to identify a lot of the streams and creeks and where they're going, where they're trying to go. And we know that Canton is sitting in the middle of an area where there's Bachelor Creek and whatever other creeks that are coming straight toward Canton and headed toward
Bear
the Big
Creek.
Black. So we're going to try to help solve that problem. As you may have, Tim said that the signalization of King Ranch Road and 22 will probably be near the end of 2021. We'll have it installed. Okay. The slowing down traffic and calming traffic on King Ranch Road is something. I mean, it's narrow. People got their mailboxes on the side of the road. One of the ways of slowing it down, though, the city of Canton could help would be to put a four-way stop at George Washington and King Ranch. So most of the people that are traveling King Ranch are not going north, are not going very far. They're going home. And if you put a four-way stop there, they're not going to be running 45, 50 miles an hour, leaving it where they're leaving from 22 going home. When they cross over George Washington, they are already at 45, 50 miles an hour. You can't slow them down. So put a four-way stop there. It's inside city limits. And if you put a four-way stop there, that will help to calm some of the traffic. And we're going to look, we've been looking at and had a plan to try to widen King Ranch and put some sidewalks on it. It was kind of expensive plan, but it's over a 4-year period from 2015 to 2019, those plans went away. The supervisor of District 4 was not really concerned about those plans at that time. We're going to take a look and see if we can revitalize the plan and move forward with some of that, because Supervisor District 4 and Supervisor District 5 are interested in those plans now. Okay?
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Doc,
Yes, sir.
on talk about Hickory Street. Be specific on what you're looking at and what you're putting together and what you come ask the board.
Yes, sir.
Be specific on what you coming to ask for.
Okay.
Don't be in a whole big cloud. We need to know exactly what you're asking for and what we're gonna get for our money if we ain't put money on it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, and we have next Mr. Carden.
Mr. President, members of the board, thank you for allowing me to be here with you today. I wanted to come and give you an update on the build grant that we prepared and submitted last year. I want to give you a brief update on the debriefing we've received and the information we've been able to put together to find out a little bit more about what happened last year. Then secondly, I want to talk to you about some follow-up contacts we've already made. And thirdly, the pathway forward, what some of the strategy that we see going forward this year with the new cycle of the bill grant process. I'll start, Mr. President, members of the board, by saying I've got good news and bad news. Y'all already know the bad news, and unfortunately we were not able to get the bill grant awarded last year. However, the good news is what we found out is that we made significant progress in terms of the application itself, because we moved from a recommended category to a highly recommended category, which was a huge jump, and that automatically gets you in the Tier 2 review, which means we went all the way through the review process and made it all the way to the Secretary, but we weren't able to get the award, and we think we've got some reasons we think that happened that I'll share with you in a few minutes. Let me go over, though, just in terms of overall debriefing we had with the United States Department of Transportation. We had a debriefing on December the 15th, and the participants in that debriefing were there were two staff members of the Secretary of Transportation's office. The first was Shira Bergstein. She is one of the career staff employees that works with the Bill Grant program. And then there was a political appointee, Jeff Smith, who is their governmental affairs person and works in their office there. So we had the debriefing by Zoom, and they shared with us the different numbers in terms of the overall process. There were 656 applicants this time around, and there were 70 awards made. Now that compares to the previous year when there were 660 applicants and 50 awards made. This time around there was $1 billion to split, and they split it evenly between urban projects and rural projects. $500 million was designated for urban, $500 million was designated for rural. This time around, though, there were a significant higher number of rural projects that were applied for. About 60% of the total applications were for rural projects. So what you've got is you've got a more competitive process just by virtue of the number that was submitted for rural projects as opposed to urban projects. There wasn't as much money to go around for rural projects as there were urban projects because of the number of applicants. As I mentioned to you earlier, there are 4 different categories that the evaluation team puts these applications in as an initial run: highly recommended, recommended, acceptable, or unacceptable. This time around, 239 applicants made it to the Tier 2 review. Now keep in mind, the only applicants that make it automatically to the Tier 2 review are those that fall in the highly recommended category. So if you fall in that category, you automatically make it further. And we were very pleased that we did that this time, because last time we fell in the recommended category and never made it to the Tier 2 review. So that was a significant, and it the evaluators were very complimentary in terms of the primary criteria. You know, you have primary criteria and secondary criteria. And the evaluators commented that there were positive remarks with regard to safety, economic competitiveness, state of good repair, and they also noted that one of the secondary criteria, which is innovation and innovative techniques that are used in the project, those were cited as positive as well. So overall, it was a good. The evaluators thought the substance of the application was very good, and that got it to the second tier. Now, the second tier evaluation is when they look at the benefit cost ratio, and they go into that analysis. And they always have their own team of economists and experts who look at the benefit cost ratio and analyze it, and then they compare it to our analysis of it set forth in our application. And there are 4 different categories of that. We fell in the second highest category in terms of the benefit cost ratio analysis this time. That was the 1.5 to 3 range. And they told us that the main thing they're looking at is to be able to determine if it is likely that the benefits will outweigh the cost in the project, and they concluded that in our project that was the case. The environmental risk, they found that there were no identified risks with this project. It was ready to proceed and would work well. So the obvious question then becomes, well, if we did so well, why in the world didn't we get the award? We've been able, we being the working team, engineers and those of us who've been working on the project, we think that there were really three factors at play. First of all, it was a far more competitive process for rural projects this time, as I mentioned to you. There were a higher number of applicants for rural projects, and there was a limited number of dollars to go around. Secondly, we think that we really, the cost share ratio, you know, our application was 90-10, 90% federal funding, 10% matching funding. We think that that cost share ratio may have been a factor in this. The engineers did an analysis of all the awards that were made across the country, and a lot of those awards were more around the 50-50, 60-40 cost share ratio. And so we think that may have been a factor. And thirdly, it was an election year. It was a presidential election year, and when you look at the swing states did really well in terms of receiving awards. Compare what Mississippi received this time until last year. In 2019, Mississippi received a total of $25 million in build grant projects. This time around, we received a total, actually, technically, of $13 million, because there was one build grant project. It was now awarded. It was down in Hattiesburg. The other build grant was a planning grant. It was over here, the reservoir grant, and and the planning grant is different from a just pure build grant. They're separate pots of money, and they're different projects. And so you can see that Mississippi overall received significantly less this time than we did the time before. So in terms of the timeline, what are we looking at going forward this year? Interestingly, Department of Transportation issued what they call a Notice of Funding Opportunity. It's another one of those federal acronyms, NOFO. And the NOFO is what initiates the process. That's what gets the process started and notifies everybody of the funding opportunity and what the deadlines are going to be. This year, there was actually a NOFO issued on January the 20th. And if y'all may recall, that was Inauguration Day. On January 21st, DOT issued a notice on the website withdrawing the NOFO that was issued on the 20th, and said that it would issue a new NOFO no later than the statutory deadline of April the 26th. So we're going to monitor and be on the lookout for the new NOFO, because the NOFO outlines the guidelines that you have to follow in terms of preparing your application. We think they're going to be very similar, but we think there are also going to be some differences because there'll be a different emphasis on certain things. And we'll be watching for that, and we'll be monitoring that, and we'll be staying on top of that timeline. Now, what have we done in terms of additional contacts besides the debriefing? We've had a conference call with Senator Wicker's staff, and we've shared with them the results of the debriefing. Senator Wicker's staff also indicated that they would set up a face-to-face meeting with Senator Wicker soon. We anticipate that'll probably be in March. We also we've had a follow-up conference with MDOT, and two of the staffers at MDOT, Jeff Altman and Jeff Ely, and we've started exploring with them, particularly the scope of the project, because you all will remember that was something we really worked hard on last year, is trying to define that. We wanted to go ahead and follow up with MDOT and start that process earlier so that we can see how we can partner with MDOT in an effective way in the event we choose to do the application again this year. What about strategically, though? Because obviously politics has changed in Washington. And so how do we plan to approach that this time around? First of all, our congressional delegation will continue to be important. We will work with Senator Wicker's staff. They felt pretty good about the new Secretary of Transportation, Secretary Buttigieg. And they have pledged to work with us again and pledged strong support for the project. Congressman Guest has actually been named to the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. That's got to be a positive sign. Congressman Thompson has been supportive of this project both times, and we anticipate that he would continue to be. And Congressman Thompson is obviously very important and very influential. We also look forward to working with Mike Espy as your board attorney. Board Attorney Espy has some very good contacts in the new administration and with the new secretary, and we have already started talking strategy about how to approach that, and we think that that's going to be helpful for us as we go forward. We also have a former Democratic congressman from Tennessee that works with our firm in D.C., Congressman John Tanner. Mike, you probably remember him. He served with you, that's right. And so we'll also be working with Congressman Tanner in terms of the contacts that he has. All in all, y'all, we think we've got a strong team of diverse talent and diverse political connections that we think are going to be helpful and hopefully are going to result, if we decide to go forward, if you decide to go forward again this year with the build grant application, hopefully we will see success this time around. Be happy, Mr. President, to answer any questions anybody might have.
Thank you very much. And I'm sure we're going to go forward until we get the build grant. Anyone would like to offer any comments or questions?
Mr. President, I would like to just add a couple of 3 comments. First of all, Tommy, appreciate you coming and updating the Board of Supervisors on the process, where we were, where we are today. And as you indicated at the very beginning, it is a process. And I know the work that the lobbyist has put on. I know the work that the engineering firms that has been hired has done the last year, 18 months. And it's been a lot of work to compile the numbers and the information together to be able to have a project that will actually meet the highly recommended category, which, as you indicated, did get to the secretary, did get on that floor. And then you explained exactly some of the other details, reason we possibly didn't receive what we asked for. But this time, as you indicated as well, our attorney, Mr. Espy there, has a lot of, will bring a lot of good information, good contacts with us as well this time, and I know that we'll have him on the team as well and look forward, and yes, I would hope that this board would move forward with the build grant this year as well, every which way that the administration sees that as far as the requirement that we would move forward with it. So again, thank you for coming this morning and giving us the update. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, good. Thank you very much, Tommy.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Thank you.
All righty. Next, we have our county engineer.
Must have an old agenda. I had two people ahead of me. All right. First item I had is the 2021 road plan. As you know, per state statute, we have to have an established road plan for 2021 by the first meeting in February. I ask that you adopt the attached roads to this as our 2021 road plan.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, next item is the engineering department requests that Dickerson and Bowen be allowed to subcontract to Traffic Control Products, Lane Line, and Kimes and Stone, and authorize the board president to sign the attached forms, and this is for the Robinson Road Overlay State Aid Project.
Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim,
Yes, sir.
before you go, you got any updates on those bridges?
Okay.
I get Stump Bridge, Old Highway 16.
All right. Stump Bridge, we have driven the piles. We're setting caps. Wet weather has impacted that. We are steadily working on that one, though. Ben Luckett, the bridge itself is complete. We just haven't had dry weather enough to get the dirt work done. So as soon as we get some dry weather, we're very close to having that bridge open. What was the third one?
Old 16.
We're waiting on bridge rails. Once we get the bridge rails, the bridge will be complete. But then again, we've got dirt issues there as well. We need some dry weather in order to finish these things up.
All right. If you will, stay on top of that. People are getting restless.
I understand.
Especially the one on Stump Bridge Road. It's been out a long time.
It has.
Been lucky. The next one been out a good while. So if you will, keep these guys moving.
Right.
Because the one on Stump Bridge is really hindering fire protection. You get Valley View, if they got to go anywhere north, they got to go 10 miles out the way to get around.
Right.
And really it wouldn't be but a half a mile to the house, but they have to go 10 miles to get around.
Sure.
All right?
All right.
Mr. President.
Tim, I'm sorry. Before you sit down, could you give us a quick update on the DeWeese Road widening?
Okay. We're out there right now with the road department and our drainage department. We're taking the trees down to stump level. You've probably, if you've been out there, you've seen we've cleared a good bit of the, I guess that's the eastern side. Once we get those trees out of the way, we've got to get AT&T to move their line. They've got a line that's directly underneath the stumps. So if we pull the stumps up now, of course, we're going to pull their line up. So we got to coordinate with them to get their stuff moved to the back side of the right-of-way, and then we'll be able to do some construction. We've also got an engineering firm that is doing the survey and cutting ditch grades, giving us a profile for our ditch grades, so we'll know what our alignment's going to be out there. And hopefully we'll have the utilities moved and the road cleared in-house so that when we get to that point, we'll be able to move forward once we get some dry weather.
Okay.
All right.
Tim, if you would, send out a email to the board updating us on the additional parking spaces at the tax collector's office in South Madison County.
Okay, I will.
And try to be specific on the starting time and also the landscaping.
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right. Okay, Scott.
Mr. President, Board of Supervisors, good morning. First item I have is Bear Creek Water Association. That was a conditional use for a quasi-public facility utility. It's located on the east side of Clarkdale Road and Old Clarkdale Road. Property is owned to PUD. Site plan is included. Supervisor District 1 was approved by the Planning Commission on January 14, 2021.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
Next item is Robert Bilbrough. That's Bridgecom LLC. This was rezoning R1 to A1. It's located on Robinson Road. This is to develop a subdivision, Supervisor District 5. This does have a 1,600 square foot minimum house size, and this was approved by the Planning Commission on January 14th, 2021.
Okay.
All right, I make a motion to approve.
Is this, I'll second it.
Yes, Mr. President, I would have one question. I'm in agreement with this. I did not see in the minutes I guess a reasoning for the rezoning.
Mr. Andy, did you have any questions on this?
When we go to these rezonings, we need to have, it actually needs to come from the Planning and Zoning Commission, and it needs to be in the minutes if we can.
I don't remember there being any discussion of changing character, but I do remember that there was part of the property that he was wanting to rezone was R1 and the other was A1, so he was wanting to make it uniform across the board in order to allow for I think treatment plants, and he had already had a conditional approval from the health department on that issue. So this was, but no, I don't think that there was any specific reasoning given or a change in the circumstances of the neighborhood. Rather, it was just in order to make his development whole and uniform across the board as far as zoning on the entire property.
Well, and I guess going forward, there needs to be.
Yes,
if it's not in front of them, whoever's asking for the rezoning, when they come in front of the board, they will get asked the two things: changing character and the need.
Yes, sir.
Or, whether there's a mistake in the map.
Yes, sir.
So with you being the attorney, guys, they need to mention that, because I'm going to be looking for that on the rezoning, because it's just too important not to have that info.
I agree with you, and I'll make that a point to and every petitioner that comes before Planning and Zoning Commission. If they don't bring it up themselves, I'll ask them.
Well, yes, I appreciate it, but if they do not give it to the Planning and Zoning at that time, they will be asked.
Yes, sir.
At this board, and then this board can, vote and choose which way they decide to go with it. But
yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, it was a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
I'll make sure that does have the conditions that that is a 1,600 square foot minimum specified in the minutes.
Okay.
The next item is Percy Grant. This was rezoning an R2 residential to a C2 commercial. It's located at 1365 Highway 16 West.
Okay. That motion?
Couple questions.
Yes, sir.
Couple questions.
Person in here?
Yeah, he's sitting back there.
They did specify an 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. time frame on this on the weekend.
Say that again now?
Mr. Grant is here.
Come on, Mr. Grant. I'm curious about exactly what you asked for. What you plan on putting there?
What we're planning on putting there is going to be something like we do wedding receptions and little recreation things.
Reason I got a lot of thoughts going in my head, Mr. Grant. I remember the Boom Boom Club.
Oh, ain't gonna be no more.
Same location, right?
It ain't gonna be no more booming club. I understand that.
And this, you asking for this to be open at all time? What are you talking about?
It'll be open just like this coming Sunday. You're gonna have a Super Bowl thing going on. All that thing will be connected. Folks come there, and you know how folks gang up. That'll
Yeah,
go on then.
can we put this off the next meeting? You, me, and Scott need to have a conversation. I don't want to open this up where I get calls every time I go through there. You can't get through there for cars parked up, loud music, because that is the area where a lot of children be over there. Right across the street, a lot of young children. And I know you got limited parking there.
Yeah.
So we need to discuss this some more. So my motion is to postpone this to next meeting. And Scott, if you will, give with Mr. Grant, set a time for us three can meet.
I'm going to second that motion with the understanding I did not see a reasoning for rezoning on this one either. So, Mr. Griffin, Supervisor Griffin, while y'all are talking, if you would, talk about why a change of character and a need for this rezoning as well. And if you bring it back, please bring that back with you if you don't mind it.
One thing.
Okay, it's been motion to table this until the next supervisors meeting. And the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're gonna have to table it. Scott, and y'all need to get it with the supervisor of the district. Next.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I can find my glasses. Next item is site plan Twisted Kitchen. That was approved by the Planning Commission. It's for a restaurant. January 14th, 2021. It was approved by the Planning Commission.
Okay.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Next item is a Wild Oak subdivision, Part 1. It's located off Oakfield Boulevard, preliminary plat, Supervisor District 1.
I'll make the motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
But I do want to say, I want to make sure that the water drains properly in that neighborhood. It's so wet down there, and I've talked to the developer about it. So, Scott, if you could keep an eye on that.
Yes, I'll let Tim know.
Yes.
That goes with the construction.
Mr. President, Scott, before you sit down, I passed by a fella's house on Bozeman Road today, and he had a tar truck and Bobcat out there getting complaints about people having to stop to wait for trucks to enter Bozeman Road. I guess we're just going to keep talking about it until maybe this board changes over the next election, and I'll keep talking about it then. I mean, I don't really understand why we can't rectify that. The man can't operate it out of a residential area. Oh, okay. I just wanted to.
Lawsuit's been filed against him, and it's got to go through the process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike, can we not do something to keep him from parking out there since it is illegal at this point?
We can go try temporary injunction. I've spoken to his lawyer after we filed. He knows the lawsuit's been filed, and got a new zoning attorney. Why don't we just file a TRO? Okay. All right.
And that's going to happen tomorrow?
Yes, sir. I can do that. In the next 2 days, I can get that filed.
I'm kind of like Supervisor Baxter. It's not in my district, but it's every meeting.
I understand.
Every meeting.
I saw it this morning too.
All right, I appreciate it. I know the other board members do as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Get a
thank you.
motion to do that?
Skinner property. He lives on Skinner Road.
No? Okay.
Past his gate. What's the guy's name?
Teddy Lee.
Teddy passes his gate, takes the next left. He's clearing a parking lot, put gravel down now, so he's
Okay.
building operation.
Uh-huh.
And when he takes the left, the road's angled wrong on Bozeman. So when he takes the left with the dump truck, they go off in the ditch because they can't make the turn, and then traffic backs up, and then I get calls.
Okay. Is that it?
Yes, sir. I have something under old business, but that's it.
Yeah. Does Shelton Vance have anything?
You do?
Our comptroller.
Hey, bills.
Let's pay the bills.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
The first item I have for you would be at number 48, which is to approve the budget amendments and to enter fund cash transfers.
Make a motion for approval.
Yeah, second by Ms. Jones. All in favor?
Aye.
The next item is the general claims docket, and then the 4 payroll dockets for January 20th, 22nd, and 2 for the 27th.
Motion.
Motion by Supervisor Jones, second by Supervisor Griffin. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And the last item is the Fleet Corps claim docket for approval.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, second motion by Ms. Jones, second by Mr. Baxter. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's run it out in.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Cynthia.
I thought he was
Some Ronnie
Oh,
today.
he's out there.
I haven't seen him outside.
You didn't see him out there? I thought, yeah.
Sick? Wow.
We just got
Oh, really?
Best one.
If he's sick, you need to stay away from him.
All right.
Okay, next.
Okay, we have a Chancery Court order in front of you. It is from Special Master Alan Ray, who has been appointed by Judge Brewer to handle some of our Chancery cases. He had to have a bailiff in Leake County sit in on one of his cases for a Madison County case. And he has issued this order to pay this bailiff $55 for services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Okay, Sheriff.
Hi, Chief.
I think it's item 56 on your agenda is discussion of the parking lot. I don't know if Tim is still here, but we had talked at a previous meeting and asked him to come look at the parking lot behind the sheriff's department where employee parking is, to look at fixing some issues there and possibly expanding that. Tim,
I bet he's back.
there he is. I think the figure he came up with, Tim, am I wrong that it's going to cost about $9,000? Is that about $9,000 to do that? And we would just like to ask that we'll be glad to work with Tim and purchasing, and you know, if we need to find some money in our budget, other budgets, both budgets, whatever, we'd like to try to get, whenever the weather's right, get that started to fix that.
Make a motion for approval.
Second.
All
in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay.
Also, if you got time, I got a copy of November 2020 inmate billing for MDOC, total of $674.50. If y'all would acknowledge and approve that, I would appreciate it.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. Let's see. Yep. Cynthia, you got that item I sent you, gave you?
This is a letter from InfoWare that has to do with the assisted hearing devices and Chancery Court rooms. The devices they've got now are antiquated. It's basically a quote from InfoWare to upgrade and install new transmitter devices and hearing installation training and stuff for $2,098.
Okay.
This is going to include the system's going to include 1 transmitter, 4 receivers and headsets for listening, and 2 Netflix devices for hearing aids. It's strictly for courtroom number 1, which is Judge Brewer, our senior judge. It's her. So they're trying to upgrade ADA.
Yeah, I got the letter from her.
You seen that right, Shelton?
I'm sorry, sir.
Have you seen that?
I was given a copy of that letter earlier today, but no, sir, I have not had a chance to read this.
You know, I would like, of course, I don't have an issue with this, but this is second meeting in a row that we've had Judge Brewer to come. And first was about the flag, state flag, which is good, because they're on order. This request is good, not a problem, but neither time our administrator knew anything about that request. So I would ask that, they work through our administrator as well and give us a copy like they did. But, what we're going to do is pretty much ask the administrator to look at it and move forward.
Yeah, well, I found that letter at my spot here this morning, same as the administrator, but I remember her bringing up the fact that she had some issues with the electronics. So I think, rather than hold up things that's causing a problem with the operation of the court, can we legally make that purchase? Have you looked at it?
I have not looked at it, but my understanding is that you have the authority to make a purchase that's necessary for the conduct of court in Madison County. I would. My only question would be, is this also needed in the other two courtrooms so that we'd make one purchase rather than three separate? But I don't know the answer to that.
Well,
I'll find out.
Well,
and have
more
it
than likely, in 2 weeks, you'll be able to tell us, and we can do it one time for everybody.
Okay.
And Mr. President, that's really my whole statement. Mm-hmm. If it was sent to the administrator as well earlier, we could have made that decision today. But administrator didn't know anything about it. We didn't know anything about it until we come this morning. So I mean, we got to give it to the correct people to be able to bring it to us and look over it and answer the questions that you just asked. Legally, can we do this? And then the other is, what about the other two courtrooms? So, but anyway. Let's see, we're old business.
We're going to table that to next week.
Yeah.
I mean, the next board meeting.
Sheldon, you just find out it wasn't really part of the agenda.
Is do the other courtroom have it too?
Yes, sir.
And just bring it back.
Mm-hmm. Is there any new business? You got old business. That's what you was sneaking over here to bring.
Old business.
How old is your? Oh, okay.
Thanks, Scott.
I know this short notice, and I don't plan on y'all making the decision today. We can wait 2 weeks, but I have 3 resumes for a building inspector, contract building inspector. My last one fell through. He took another job. I do have 3 there for your consideration to take a look at, and we can address that in 2 weeks if you want to.
That's the longest resume I've ever seen.
And we do have one applicant that has a lot of certifications.
Oh,
and I just got those Thursday, so they were on short notice.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Any new business?
Mr. President, I do have one item that came in. You may recall a couple of months ago, you were asked to consider selling a piece of land that is just off Highway 51 on the south side of town. You authorized an appraisal and advertising for that land. Friday, those bids related to the advertisement were received, so I would ask Keisha to read those bids to you.
Oh, okay.
Good morning, Board. How are you all this morning?
Good morning.
We received one sealed bid from Key Crete, and I'm assuming this is Key Construction.
Yeah.
Okay. In regards to the 1.52 acres of vacant land on Mississippi Highway 51, the one bid that was received was for $53,000. I ask that the board receive this bid that we received on Friday, this past Friday, and award.
Let's just acknowledge.
Okay, acknowledge the bid.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
That bid has been acknowledged.
Okay.
And there were two bidders that expressed concern. Only one ended up actually submitting a proposal. This is the appraisal. The appraisal for the property is $53,000. So at this point, I would ask you to either take this under advisement or make a determination as to what you wish to do with this piece of land.
Motion to sell it.
Is there a second? All in favor? Sell it? Yeah.
And with
okay, so we'll go ahead and sell it to Keith.
And with that, would you authorize the board attorney to craft the documents related to sale?
That'd be necessary.
Okay. Shelton, did we acknowledge the appraisal as well, or we do that?
I'm almost positive you acknowledged the appraisal when we got it, but there's nothing wrong with acknowledging it again.
I would like to make a motion to acknowledge the appraisal for that piece of property as well.
All in favor? Okay. Motion to go into closed determination by Paul. Is there a second? By Supervisor